Morning. And this is the regularly scheduled June meeting of the Fairport Municipal Commission. And I guess we'll start it off with a roll call, Brian, if you'd be so kind. Oh, okay, very good. Holly?
Commissioner Jordan?
Present.
Commissioner Stuckey? Commissioner Fritsch? Commissioner Schlaba?
Here.
Chairman Keefe?
Present. Thank you. We have a few folks in the audience this morning. Walter, welcome. If you didn't make it to Donna's little retirement gig last week, then you may have had a chance to meet Walter, but he's the replacement. No easy task to follow. Big shoes, and yeah, I know. So welcome. Excellent. Sounds good. Thank you. Welcome. And let's start off with business from last month. Review and approve the minutes. Any comments or discussion by the commissioners? Doesn't appear to be. So we can go with a motion, I guess, to have a motion.
Second.
And we have a second. Those in favor? Aye. And any opposed? There being none, 5-0. New business, and we have in the audience John and Josh. Interchangeable? No. No. Yeah, okay. Gentlemen, so you have a little bit of a presentation to give us on the system and its reliability, I guess. So please do so.
Good morning, everyone. As was said, I'm John O'Leary. This here with me is Josh.
Hello, I'm Josh Hartford, new co-op student.
I've been here for just shy of a year now. I've spent a lot of time working on a reliability report this year. Josh has been a great help to me as well in some of that data. Yep, it was not on. That helps. To start out, I know this chart is a little bit overwhelming at first, but I just wanted to include it to give you a sense of what everything that we're going to talk about here today. We collect all of our outage information and put that information into a program called eReliability. The APPA gives us this program, American Public Power Association, and from there, we utilize that data, interpret that data, and figure out what we need to do to go moving forward. I know this is a little bit overwhelming. I promise we'll go into more detail of what these numbers all actually mean. Starting out with a 4-year review of SAIDI. SAIDI is an index of average interruption duration. From this, we know how much the average customer experiences in terms of an interruption. You'll notice there's a lot of different information on this chart. The real high peaks include all outage interruptions. That includes what we call major events. Major events are classified by the APPA and classified basically to indicate normal versus non-normal operations, right? So if you have something like a storm, that will go under a major event. We can classify that as that storm, but it doesn't indicate our normal operations. So those lower values, those orange and blue, are our scheduled or no major event classifications. That tells us what we're doing in our normal operations. But as you can see, those major events classify as a large part of our interruptions. We look at those as well to figure out what we can do to better isolate the system and repair the system. Safety is also an important number in terms of frequency of interruptions. So this tells us what the average customer experiences, how frequently they can experience an outage. For the 2023, our number went up a little bit, of 0.30. So that basically indicates the average customer will, the average third customer would experience an outage based on this given year. So it did go up a little bit, and we have a few things we've identified moving forward of how to lower that number, bring that number down, make sure that people aren't experiencing outages nearly as frequently. Katie, duration of interruption. So Sadie is kind of the average. Katie indicates how long each interruption lasts, right? So it measures our response time given the outage. Doesn't necessarily look at how many customers given that outage, but for the average outage, how long it took us to restore. So you can see our no major event classification went way down. During normal operations, we were able to respond much more quickly this year. And we did have some larger storms this year, but even there, we were able to respond fairly quickly. So I measure this as a great success of our crews and their ability to respond. Main key is momentary interruptions. So this isn't necessarily something we look at to a great extent. It's a momentary interruption that indicates the success on our part in order to get people restored within 5 minutes. Now, that number did go down this year. That's an indication that we had some longer duration outages, something that we were aware of, something that we paid attention to, but we were able to keep that number low of not interrupting people momentarily very frequently. We also paid attention to this year the number of outages per circuit. So that's something that we look at in engineering to figure out where are our problem areas and what can we do to restore things. So you can see out of Lawler 1 LD and 1 LC, those are kind of problem circuits that we have on our radar right now of how we can go about reducing those frequencies, right? Especially, where we have problem areas where people are regularly seeing those interruptions. We want to pay attention to that to see what we can do to lower that number, give the customers a better experience in those areas. And then this is a visual we have on our website to indicate how we compare to others. We mentioned 15 minutes a year because that's our average interruption duration, that Sadie number. When you compare it to other utilities, the average of being 148 minutes a year, we're going above and beyond to make sure that we have the best values possible. And I know Matt has put in a great deal of work, and I'm trying to take those steps to do that as well, to really make sure that we have the lowest possible duration of outages and as few frequency of outages. And that's all I got. Any questions?
It said, I think it said 2023 data. Is it January to December of 2023?
Yes.
So 5 months.
The PSC requires that we compile that data through the calendar year. So it's basically January 1st to December 31st of the 2023 calendar year. We've already started collecting data on 2024, but we don't have the compiled report.
And do you think that, I don't know, maybe Matt, for you as well, like the new smart meter project, will that help refine some of this data, like so you can pinpoint it more to, like you have it listed as like a circuit, I think you said. Will we get more granular information, or do we need more granular?
The data will stay the same. And part of that is our GIS backbone gives us those numbers now. When we know we have interruptions, we're able to get good data for that. And this is the same data that we've done going back 20 years ago. It was on an Excel spreadsheet. And we started with e-reliability, which we paid for through PPA probably 8 to 10 years ago. What that allowed us to do is take this data and compare it to, we're in region 8, I think, it's kind of a northeast region, but then alongside that with every other utility in the United States, both large investor-owned, small municipals. We're not nearly the best. I mean, we have great numbers. There's no question on that. But there are utilities that are better. There's communities in New York that are better. So that's one of those things we always strive for. Part of the reason people move to Fairport is reliable electric, the low-cost electric. So we want to make sure we keep that metric going.
John, just for clarity, like this slide I'm looking at, so Lawler 1 LD, which is the line, it says 2,300 circuits. Is that circuits or customers within that circuit?
So that's the number of customers that experience outages. So that number could actually be higher than our number of customers on that circuit. Let's say, I don't know the exact numbers for 1 LD, I think it's around 1,500 customers or so. You may have seen an outage of all 1,500 customers, and then later on another 800, something along those lines. And those aren't exact numbers.
It could be tree related on that, so it could be anything, right?
It could be anything. It could
whatever.
be the wind, trees, squirrels, any outage on that circuit.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Thank you.
So yeah, that might be useful to know by percentage, you know, because I assume the different circuits have different numbers of customers.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, definitely.
Are there any lessons learned that you have, things that we're working on to try to improve?
I know a lot of the things I'm paying attention to is how to reduce outages, right? Where we have an outage, and that's something that I worked on previously when I worked at RG&E, was when you have outages, how to minimize that outage, right? If, say, 500 customers are knocked out, well, is there anything we could have done instantaneously to reduce that to 250 or even down to 100? And I know Matt has a lot of that background knowledge, the mapping of the area. He knows every customer and every circuit where it exists. And I'm trying to build that knowledge and figure out how we can better minimize those outages. So that's kind of what I pay attention to as I look at this. And we are very fortunate. We don't have many large outages. The system that we have in place does reduce a lot of things on its own, which is phenomenal. But it's always taking the next step, figuring out what more we can do.
So when you're talking about trying to figure out and focus on lowering outages, what are some like examples of things that you would generally do to make a bigger impact quickly on something like that? I mean, is it generally like, hey, this hasn't been tree trimmed in 5 years, and this is what we're seeing a lot of, or?
Tree trimming is definitely a big one. That will help reduce some of those larger or longer lasting outages. But it's also looking at what does wildlife do in an area and what sort of equipment can we put in to basically intelligently respond. Is it putting fuses in? Is it putting in some more smart devices? Is it what other equipment can we put in to more closely isolate where those outages occur? We know that there's a problem area where there's a lot of squirrels. There's nothing we can really do about that other than try to isolate that area.
Well, I have to say that there's certain things we can certainly be proactive about, which I know we do, and then there's things beyond our control that, like you say, the wildlife and things of that nature that are, lesser so. So, yeah, but I think the just overall reflection on the system and the operation is how proactive we've been over the years. Josh, you got anything to add to this? Okay.
Josh has been a great help so far. He's only been here, probably a month, maybe 2 at this point. Yeah, so he's been a great help to me in terms of cleaning up the data, looking at the 2024 data, making some of these charts, so that I can more closely look at what the causes are. So he's been a great help in that regard.
John, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion by the commissioners relative to the report? No? Okay, so I guess we can receive and file and proceed.
Perfect.
Thank you. Rate case update, which I know, Brian, you had sent out an email last week regarding submission and, things, and so I guess we're underway as far as the PSC goes.
So on May 31st, we submitted our rate case to the PSC. We're expecting the review process to take anywhere from 6 months to a year. We're preparing the first items that we're expecting them to ask for as part of the process. We're trying to submit for a 2-year rate increase. The first year we're hoping to get up to 11% with the understanding that the PSC will make adjustments to that rate. And the next year would be another 2.3% increase. That is including some of the capital projects that we've already planned, as well as the covering operational costs that we are not currently covering as part of our daily operation revenue and the base revenue at this point.
Capital projects are certainly necessary, and well documented as far as things go to, provide just, the reliability, as we were just talking about, for the system in the future.
You hit on that. I mean, you can't have reliability and talk about the numbers that John talked about without having good infrastructure and good maintenance strategies and replacement strategies and those things. So the team's really good at doing that. It's a big part of what we do. All our money that we have extra goes back into capital in some form or fashion, keeping the operation going. So we'll see what happens. I'm hoping it doesn't take a year, but there's a lot of communities going in doing the very same thing that we're doing, which we never really saw in the past. There's a pretty robust program that's being headed by Municipal Power Agency that Matt sits on, that they've established an internal rate case filing facilitation process. So a lot of communities that have been in some 5, 10, 15, 20 years or so. And it's a complicated process. You have the expertise in your local staff to do that in some of the smaller systems. So now there's a team of consultants and other professionals that are helping real small systems go through a process like this. So when you're having 5 or 6 of these going in at the same time, plus all the IOUs going in every single year, it's time consuming. So I even think with our process, it's been a little slower than sometimes we did it in-house, just because we're going through the system that is managing a large group of people. Our system's doing it all at the same time. So, but they'll massage everything. I mean, the thing with going through a process like this, and what our ratepayers should know is it's not something you just go in and you just go for a pie in the sky number and you hope you get it because you want to overspend or those things. We've talked about this before. They're gonna ask for justification for every single thing that we do, all our expenses, how we're operating. Not that they get to manage that, but they really look at the efficiency of the operation, what we're doing. Are we spending the money on the things that we said we were going to spend money on in the previous rate filings? Making sure that we're being held accountable to due process and reliability. They're giving us 20% increases a year, and we're having outages like you've never seen before. There's clearly a disconnect between what we're asking for and what we're putting back into the system. Yeah, we'll see where we go with it. If you guys have questions on the process, or if you're getting questions or commentary from ratepayers and need some help responding, or you want to forward that to us, please feel free to do that. We're prepared to take care of that. So is our customer service reps downstairs.
We'll hit the social media this week. So this is where you'll really start to, your neighbors will be asking you questions and things like this. We have to post it on certain, it has to go out in the paper, and then, we'll hit the website. It's already on the website. We'll make sure we hit Facebook and Twitter and all the rest of them that we, for what we utilizes. So, but that'll go out this week, and that's typically when the conversation really starts. So happy to talk about it with any of the customers. I mean, it's justified. It's just, we haven't had one in 3 years. If you remember, none of the pandemic costs were built into the last one, nor was the interest rate built into it. So just the interest rate and COVID costs is a big number.
Matt, do we need anything official from the PSC about authorization for rate case filings from the commission at all at this time, or is it just stuff that we're documenting now and where we're publishing with the public we talked about is sufficient?
No, we made the motion that we were going to
At the last meeting?
we were going to do a rate case, and that we talked about it. I recall a motion, maybe not. Okay.
Put it in the minutes
I
anyway.
thought like you were gonna work with the lawyers to have the wrong date on it, and then send a note that it only needed approval by the middle of the board maybe or something.
That was the bond.
That was for the bond payments and stuff, which we worked out. That was fine. Just to be safe, can we just do something like this real quick? Just in case they do ask for it, that they know. I don't think it's a problem since it's authorized. But can we have a motion? I want the numbers real quick. Pull out the sheet real quick. 1 second. All right, can we, can the commission authorize a motion for the Fairport Municipal Commission to enter into a minor rate filing process to increase its annual revenues by about $2.6 million or 11% in rate year one and about $747,000 or 2.8% in rate year two?
I just had a couple of quick questions as I was looking through it. On the front page, these are probably very minor. On the front page, the PPACs costs were in the revenues. Are they showing up in the expenses as well? I didn't see them there.
Yes, I mean, they are shown on both sides.
Okay.
And what you
I
see,
only saw it was
yeah, in the
the
cover letters, it's the difference in the numbers. Part of what you see is rate year and the base year.
Right.
So that's part of the difference. But yes, PPAC is absolutely, it's a pass-through.
Yeah.
It's net neutral.
Understood. I didn't see it listed down in the expenses. So.
You'll see it as coming in as PPA revenue on the revenue side. On the expense side, they come in cost of transmission and other factors. They're going to be in other line items outside of PPA. They're truly the bills coming in from transmission and congestion and those types of things. So they come in under those bills, not under PPA. Correct, but as the revenue comes in, it's just captured under purchase power adjustment charges because they were adjusted for those congestion and transmission charges that we experienced for the given month.
Okay. So just captured different ways.
Correct.
That makes sense.
So, we have a resolution, on the floor. We need to have a vote. So we need a motion and then a second.
I'll move to move forward.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Those in favor? Aye. And any opposed? None.
Thank you.
Okay, all set on that topic? Very good, okay. Next matter is the personnel update.
We promoted 2 crew chiefs this month, June 1. Kevin Cowan, who's been with us since May of 2005, was promoted to crew chief, along with Chris Faticone, who's been with us since April of 2015. These will not be the only promotions we do to crew chief this year, but it's the start of it. It's kind of getting us back up to full staff at that level. We've been down a couple as through retirees, and as guys show the leadership ability. It's not sometimes just the technical skills; it's it's the whole package. So well deserved, well received, and so we made those. It was budgeted, and we did make those promotions. But like I said, we will make a couple more this year as the year goes on. So
Thanks, man.
you're welcome.
That's good. MEUA and NIPA meetings update?
I can take the NIPA meeting. So the NIPA meeting, well attended. We saw the outgoing president, Aaron Bonacci from Bath, who had served for 5 years. We actually had two come on. Liz Maylock out of Springville had to leave her post in Springville, so she'd come off the board. We were down to 4, so we actually had 2 vacancies to fill. Ryan Stisser from Wellsville took over Liz Maylock's, so he'll serve a 3-year term. And Stacy Stanton out of Churchville was elected for a 5-year term, so we're back up to 5 board members on that. It was a busy day with our audit, with our financial statements. Talked about congestion costs right now. On paper, should be lower if things work out as expected. So our TCCs, our congestion contracts, they do an auction cost. So these costs we receive, and they're very, very volatile. We paid as little as $800 a megawatt up to the tune of about $30,000 a megawatt for congestion. It's a huge swing. They're back down to a lower number this year, which saves us money. These are put through the PPAC annually. So that's good news. We did talk about clean energy costs, and they're only going up, as expected. As more things come, we can get more efficient. So that's good news. We did talk about clean energy costs, and they're only going up, as expected. So that's good news. We did talk about clean energy costs, and they're only going up, as expected. As more things come, we can get more efficient. So that's good news. We did talk about clean energy costs, and they're only going up, as expected. So that's good news. We did talk about clean energy costs, and they're only going up, as expected. As more things come, we can get more efficient. So that's good news. We did talk about clean energy costs, and they're only going up, as expected. So that's good news. We did talk about clean energy costs, and they're only going up, as expected. As more things come, we can get more efficient. So that's good news. We did talk about clean energy costs, and they're only going up, as expected. As more things come, we can get more efficient. So that's good news. We did talk about clean energy costs, and they're only going up, as expected. As more things come, we can get more efficient. So that's good news. We did talk about clean we're faced with mandates, and so many things that we pass on to our customers. But those are pass-through costs. So it was a busy day. We spent the morning, it was a half day, up to about noon, really did it. And we talked about rate cases and kind of getting everybody in line. One of the things I hope is down the road that can we, automate some of the rate cases that, maybe you just get your interest rate, increases or, those types of things. But until all the municipals go in front of the PSC and do a rate case, because there are some that have not been in for over 20 years. So let's get everybody in line. But well-attended meeting, good information. Thank you to the commissioners for coming down for it, and I appreciate it. So.
Matt, who calculates the congestion costs, or what group oversees that or makes those decisions?
It's the ISO, New York State Independent System Operator, which was the old New York Power Pool. That is the group in Albany that actually runs the grid. They run the market. They're the ones that set the day-ahead pricing, through these tariffs and things like that. They're the ones
It's kind of hocus pocus, right?
it's actually not. It is amazing. It's a huge group. I think there's 500 people, usually in the building, but there's some that work from home now. Really, really smart people. I've been able to tour that building a few times and meet with the staff. There's a lot going on with the market. It's the challenge of looking at tomorrow. It should be a blue sky day and generation that should be available. Well, all of a sudden that generation is no longer available because they lost the transmission line. How do we substitute in, different energy at a reasonable cost? There's an awful lot. So
Do we have a sense on what the reduction, if there is going to be a reduction in the next year, for those costs will be, or?
yeah, I mean, it's, last year our costs for those congestion contracts were about $1.4 million. This year, I think we're about $500,000 off the top of my head. So it's a big reduction. And that comes right off the PPAC. Those are less that our customers have to pay, which is great. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Yeah, to Matt's point, that the structure, we had a chance to tour it, and it's brilliant folks that work in there, and it looks like a better term, if you watch like a movie with has maybe some type of astronaut or NASA system, right? They have a screen that's, I don't know, 6 times the size of this back wall here, and probably 3 times as high, and it shows every single transmission line, generator, substation on that for the entire grid in New York State, and they track flow, what systems are on, what generation's being put on there, where is it going, how fast it's going, everything that's on there, what's the draw in real time every second. So they know it's very impressive. It's really cool to see about what they're doing and how they're doing it. I don't know how you can really track and look at it any different than they are, right? And then you're taking the anomalies of weather and policies and different things like that, and it impacts that. I think there's probably never been a more challenging time for an ISO in New York State anyway than there is now, just with the changes that are going on in the energy market. So, pretty cool.
They're getting down granular, literally to the point they're following clouds. As we bring solar on, they'll literally track massive clouds that they know, it's in Buffalo, when's it going to get to Rochester, when's it going to get to Syracuse, so they can schedule that solar coming off. They schedule, the wind is the same thing. It is that granular. I mean, it's an electrical engineer. I mean, it's really cool technology, and I love visiting it.
So on the MUA side, very similar to what Matt said. We had a great meeting. Our finances are in order. This was our semi-annual meeting, so there was no changes in the board or anything like that. I'll be coming off in October, off as president, just being our trustee at that point. But we went over, our energy efficiency program, what's going on. We talked about we discussed that in here. Currently, we have a 1 mil adder on our bills for energy efficiency programs, which equates to approximately $450,000 to $500,000 a year based on sales for our system. But how much money we get that we can go in and do rebates and heat pump rebates and home insulation and whatever the other projects that we want to do. The 2 mil adder was authorized at this meeting. Rachel and Tim were there. And so that'll be going into effect, I think, next spring-ish. And so that'll give us about $1 million a year to play with from this. And it was almost unanimous except for 2 systems in New York State that didn't agree to do it. So other than that, that went really well. I was glad to see it happen. It was a long time coming. We've been talking about that for years. Other things going on. We got a good update on New York from New York State about what's going on, just kind of in the House and the Senate and the governor's office. It's always entertaining from John Jennings. Right, Rachel. It's a good time. NIPA gave a good conversation to us about the various grant programs and federal programs that have impacts on the electric sector that we might be able to capitalize on as municipal systems. And the other appealing part was that they'd be willing to manage and help us with these types of things if we need the help. So that's something that we might take advantage of in the future. So they did that. We talked a lot about the CBA and the CLPCA and the Climate Action Council, its impacts, the continuous jargon about how we're moving very quickly into a more renewable focus generation and consumption in New York State, and a lot of the kind of the doom and gloom of how, it's not that anyone disagrees with it. Again, it's more about how quickly we're doing it, what are the costs associated with it, how sustainable is it, and is it going to jeopardize your reliability? That's what it comes down to in a nutshell. That's what the whole conference was really about. So we discussed that in great length again and again and again, and keep giving us updates on that type of thing. It's a real thing. We'll get through it like anything and move to the next. But it was a great conference overall. I think it's one of our better ones. It was really engaging. I think the speakers are getting a little bit better at keeping you from sleeping. So that worked out really well. And then it's nice, I think, that MUA and NIPA are kind of, while people are there, they're bringing different topics that kind of keep your interest going a little bit more. But other than that, it was great. Good time. Thank you.
Brian, just a quick question. With respect to available grant monies in the future, I know in years past when we had the pre-disaster mitigation funding that added a lot of value to our system for a number of years. Is there anything that is on the horizon that we're looking at right now? Anything that jumps out at you or that we'll be able to take advantage of?
They have various pots of money for our own systems to do generation projects. They have money out there to increase some reliability. We're going to look at a little bit of variety of everything. There was a few things they brought up that I think in my notes that are at least worth the conversation. Remember, no money is really free money, and there's a lot of things that are attached to it. If it makes sense and we can do something later, and it's a project we were going to do anyway, we'll definitely take a look at it. There's a bunch of that IIJA kind of money that goes back a couple of years for electric systems and going through the federal government that's being passed through NYSERDA and other places that are facilitating the grants that we have to work with in order to do it. But NIPA seems to be willing to help out with some of that, to push that. They want to do a lot of renewable generation and get partners to either do that or buy it or contribute to that form of fashion. So it's a complicated thing. Matt and I met with a group of people that are looking at, they call it the Emerald Triangle or something like that. But it's Bushnell's based in us in Pittsburgh, but they want to put renewable generation within this corridor along the Erie Canal, which you first hear it, it's like, you just think in your head because you don't know anything else to think that there's just, we're going to bulldoze everything down and just put solar panels next to the Erie Canal, which I can't imagine being very tasteful or nice, but they're just looking at anything and everything that they can do. But I think the real reason for doing it is, A, they believe in it, but moreover, there is so much money that's being pushed out there to just build renewable generation. And regardless of cost, which was kind of mentioned, if cost didn't matter, what would you like to see here? And it's kind of nice to say, hey, blank check, just do what you want, and we can do something great. It's just the confines of it in the Village of Fairport, what do you really do and what really makes sense. We don't have a lot of property sitting around where we're just looking at putting something like that in there. If you're going to do renewables, especially solar, you need large areas. You're not looking for a 5-acre parcel, right? You're looking for something substantial that justifies transmission and everything else. So we'll take a look at everything, and if there's things that make sense, we'll talk about it.
So yeah, I would affirm both of those conferences were good, and I would encourage other commissioners, if you haven't been, I think it's a great opportunity to learn more about, what Matt and Brian and everyone, Holly and Lauren are doing, and how they're contributing to these organizations, and gives, I guess, greater context to the work that we do here.
The content's definitely getting better. There's always going to be some doom and gloom and some of this constant philosophical difference between how we get to where we want to be with renewables and the costs, and does that make sense? But I don't care what state you live in or what country you live in. There's always going to be people that differ with political spectrums and decisions and stuff like that. So you get a little bit of that going on back and forth, but it's going to happen regardless. It's just really figuring out the proper way to do it and what's going on, which is a good thing. We want to make sure that we're preparing ourselves for it so that we're putting Fairport in the best position possible to meet the challenges that we need to do and take care of it. But it's things like they talked about electric buses a lot. So electrification of school buses is for whatever reason seems to be a hot topic. I don't really know why. I mean, for me, something that runs an hour in the morning, an hour at night, this is where you're investing all your money in. When you're talking about vehicles that sometimes run 12 hours a day, why are we doing that? Well, it's because it's something that I think the markets aren't responding as quickly as the private market aren't, as quickly as the state government would like it, but they can control mandates like school buses and things like that because they're taxing jurisdictions. So they're going toward that end, but the cost associated with an EV bus is substantial, 2 to 3 times the amount. They don't really work, they're not that reliable, they're putting diesel engines in them just to run the heaters, even though they're running on battery during the day. But the bigger issue for us is fine, you want to do that, great, but how does smaller systems meet the demand charge that's going to happen and the load responsible for when you have, Fairport, if you go by the garage or an A-Roll, there's, I don't know what they're 60, 80 buses or whatever sitting back there. If they're all charging when they plug in at night and they leave at 4:30 when they drop all the kids off, they're going to plug in, right? And they're all on timers, of course, but how does that work and how do these systems meet that expectation and what's the cost to do it? So that's always seems to be a big topic. I don't really know why. It's not that, I don't think there's a lot of bang for the buck. I mean, go for something that runs all day long, but nevertheless.
I'm not touching that.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion on this topic? And if not, I guess we can move on to the financial reports and all things monetarily related. Holly.
So we are presenting the April final financial report, April 2024. We had a $50,000 loss for that month, but on the cash side, we had a $785,000 net increase in our cash flow related to the timing of when we're receiving some of our electric bills back. One of the bigger items that we paid out in terms of cash flow was the $480,000 that were paid to the Depository Trust Company for the principal and interest. We had it approved a month ahead of time because we transferred the money over to the village before the May 15th payment is due. Just a timing thing to make sure that it gets to where it needs to go, being such a large payment. In terms of the overall net profit on the year, was at the end of April, it was a $145,000 net profit for the year, despite that $50,000 loss in April. We're forecasting currently at the end of May to have about a $15,000 net profit. There's a number of adjustments that are still in flux related to that. The biggest portion of that is related to the electric bills for the month of May that won't come in until the end of this week. That impacts adjustments to the PPAC revenue and expenses that we have to make sure that those are in balance at the end of the year. Along with any audit adjustments, we do have the audit scheduled this year for the last week in July. That's about a month earlier. We are trying to get it. We moved it up this year in conjunction with the village in order to try to finalize our PSC report within the 90-day window. As we prepare the rate case, we want to make sure that that is done in a timely fashion. So that is moved up. We're hoping to get all of the numbers from the state in order to be able to finalize that audit report, but we're generally waiting on some information regarding the pension. That's one of the last items that we generally get. In terms of May, we have the tentative one-page summary that I sent out revised for the month of May in terms of cash flow. We had another net increase, again, that's relating to the timing of when we're receiving our electric revenues. Our net increase for the month was $767,000 increase of cash. However, you'll notice that the year-to-date cash is substantially down compared to where we were last year. So at the end of last year, we had a very large overcollection of our PPAC. We reimbursed that over the year, so that was about $1.5 million of that $2.5 million decrease that you're seeing. And in addition to that, we have a slight decrease, or a slight undercollection this year that we will probably have already collected by mid-June, but as of the end of May, we have an undercollection. I don't have an exact number because it relates to the electric bills that are coming in, but for that number, so we're going to see, again, that's another chunk that is going to be related to the PPAC. In addition, the TCC, we paid that out, the larger bill that was paid out related to this year. We paid that out in July last year, and then a portion gets paid in July, and then a portion gets paid in October. And then we end up amortizing it over the course of the year, so we are down a little bit compared to where we were at in terms of the TCC for cash-wise this year, but we'll collect that money through the PPAC until the end of October. So that's why you're seeing that large decrease in cash, but we are looking to be roughly at about a $15,000 net profit on the year. So don't be alarmed by that large decrease in the cash flow. The other item I wanted to point out was in terms of the electric receivables, we've had an issue with the United States Postal Service. We've been in contact with them to try to address it on a number of occasions. Our billing office has done a fantastic job trying to figure out what is the issue and try to figure out ways to improve it. But in comparison to previous months and previous years, our 30-plus day balances are substantially higher than they have been in recent months. We added a communication to our bills to try to remind people of the different ways that they can pay. We're going to be doing a presentation in July to further discuss those ways to pay, to try to figure out if there's a way to, because there's ways to pay that people can get the money there on time through e-check or paying through the kiosk or ACH through their bank account, bill pay. But it's only the people that are mailing in checks that are seeing a delay. And so we're trying to figure out ways to address that, better communicate that. Where our customer service people are trying to communicate that it might be a good time to set up the automatic bill pay if you were able to do so, and discussing those options with our customers on a daily basis.
So, Holly, is there, like I remember we had a complaint about somebody in Georgia was having an issue with the U.S. Postal Service. Are local customers having an issue with the Postal Service and getting their bills here on time?
So we send our checks down to Atlanta, Georgia. That's where our lockbox is.
Okay.
So it's the checks that are getting sent down there. And it seems to be, and I don't know for sure, Postal Service, but they've said that it's related to the Atlanta postal office that is the problem of holding it up. The lockbox is changing location to Charlotte, North Carolina as of today, I believe. So we're hoping that with that shift, it might improve the matter. We are seeing the checks getting to the office a little bit quicker. In March and April, it was 5 to 6 weeks for a check to get from here to Atlanta. Now it's down to 3 to 4 weeks. But, again, we have, I think, 7 or 8 different ways for people to pay. And we'll go into further depth on that in July. But we're trying to push people that direction to alleviate the problem.
Will it include costs to pay, such as, like I think there's like a couple dollar charge or something if you pay with your credit card or something? Will that information also be available so customers can kind of understand, you know, the upcharge of the type of payment?
Yes, definitely. We're going to include all of the charges related to, that are going to be provided to the customers, as well as the charges that are provided to Fairport, just so you guys have an understanding of how much it costs
Sure.
Fairport. The 60 cents for the check, I know for some people, they were realizing that just by not having to put the 60-cent stamp on the check, they're actually saving themselves money by using an e-check in our system, so,
Okay.
just,
Yeah, I think all that'd be great, yeah, thank you.
This is only affecting the people that are physically mailing the checks, and, you know, trust us, we cash the check the day we receive it at Lockbox, you know, but if it's taking the postal service, you know, 4 weeks or 6 weeks to get a check to Atlanta, you know, and they receive it on a Tuesday, they get cashed on that Tuesday. You know, it's only people who are physically mailing it. There are free ways for people to pay, you know, we have an app, we have, you know, there's multiple ways. You can go to your bank and, you know, you can do this online. You know, there's a kiosk, there's multiple ways to do it for free that people can do from the comfort of their home. So if we can, you know, but it's a postal service, FedEx, I mean, it's in that routing of those physical checks that the issue is.
Thank you. So, I guess we can entertain approving the financials for this month.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None? That passes 5-0, and I guess we're on to payment of vouchers. We have a motion?
Second.
Then we have a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None? And that passes 5-0 as well. Upcoming meeting, our next meeting is on July 8th, Monday, a regularly scheduled meeting. And I guess if there's any other topics of discussion by staff or commissioners, now's the time.
We did have a large interruption of power in the village yesterday afternoon as we worked through some issues. It had come in pretty nonchalant for sparks coming from a cabinet. I think it was the fire department response that then did not get passed on to us. So by the time we got to it, we worked for about 4 hours yesterday to restore power. We temporarily restored power. We'll have more work this week to get back into it. But just if you talk to customers in West Church and Filkins and Potter and South and a few people on Main Street, we did find an issue, but we did make temporary repairs yesterday. So
Thanks, man.
it's been a very busy time. The trees, with all the rain, the leaves are very heavy. We've lost an awful lot of trees out there in people's backyards, you know, great big, magnificent trees that all of a sudden split in half. So crews have been very busy.
Yeah. I think we'll go back to John and Josh and the report, factor in some of the weather-related, and tertiary issues that come along with it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other things on the minds of the commissioners or staff? If there are none, then we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Motion? Do we have a second? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None being? Walter, welcome. Gentlemen, thank you. Good reports, John and Josh. smiling, Josh, something's wrong. So, all right, have a great day, and see everybody next month, if not sooner.
Thanks, Jim. Now I know why my coffee pot went off.
Yeah, well, there you go.